All right, everybody, welcome to our regular public council meeting for Monday, February 17, 2025, here at Town of Torbay. Very first thing we need to do, we need a motion to appoint Holly as the town clerk for the purpose of this meeting. Could someone do that?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried, thank you. Also, what? Oh. Also, we have a change to the agenda. The planning committee wants to remove
Item 1B.
item 1B from the agenda. They have more discussion that needs to take place. So we'll skip over that when it comes. New business, Councilor Tapper.
Pass.
Councilor Pollard.
Pass.
Councilor Appley.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Birthday greetings and thank you.
Okay, and I got thanks. All right, is there anybody here who wants to get on the first Q&A session? No? Okay, thank you. Could I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. All righty. First up, we have regular council meeting minutes for February 3rd. Could I get a motion to adopt those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in seconded, any errors or omissions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried, thank you. Conflict of interest, the little sheet is there on your desk. There's two items, the first one's been removed. The other is a referral from Huckabee Water Cove. And as always, if an issue arises, please raise it at the moment it's coming forward. All right, proclamations. We have two proclamations tonight. One for Easter Seals. Steve, Deputy Mayor, has that one?
No,
Okay.
I don't have the one for Easter seals.
What one you got?
I got the one for
Heart Month?
Heart Month.
Okay, Councilor Pollard got Easter Seals.
I do now. Thank you, Worship. March is Easter Seals Month. Whereas approximately 100,000 people of all ages in our province live with disabilities such as physical, sensory, cognitive, or other disabilities that present barriers to full participation in society. Whereas Easter Seals Newfoundland and Labrador is a charitable organization with a vision for a community where all people with disabilities live full, healthy, and active lives. A mission to engage, inspire, and maximize opportunities for people with disabilities of all ages by providing meaningful programs and services. Whereas Easter Seal NL's recreation programs help those with disabilities explore what they can do through independence camps, art and music therapy, and adaptive sports, promoting full, active, and healthy, socially engaged lifestyles. Whereas Easter Seals Newfoundland offers employment and educational services to assist those with barriers to employment in successfully transitioning from home and school into adulthood and independence with a focus on preparing for, obtaining, and maintaining gainful employment. Whereas Easter Seals Newfoundland I Can Too Disability Awareness Program activities foster disability awareness and sensitivity and provide tools for accessibility and inclusion.
Therefore, with the support of the Town of Torbay, I sign this proclamation and declare the month of March in 2025 to be observed as Easter Seals Month. I call upon all citizens to support this worthy charitable organization and the people of all ages and all disabilities it serves. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments? Do we have anybody here to represent this proclamation? Are you here for it?
You have parents and participants.
Okay. Did anybody want to have a few words? You can if you want, or else we could just jump up and take a quick picture after we're done. If that suits you better.
You want to? No. No,
Picture's fine.
yeah, well, I don't need to go there, but thank you very much, we do appreciate it. Easter Seals is a really, really great organization, supports certainly me and my son and many, many more people. There's a lot more than what you're seeing here for sure, I guarantee you that. And we've been with them, I think we started probably 30 years ago with Easter Seals, so we've got a long time with Easter Seals. I also volunteer with Easter Seals as well, as being a parent. So thank you very much, we very much like your support. And again, thank you on behalf of everybody.
Thank you. Well, I will say a few words in that case to close this off. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. It's awesome when we get people to come here to recognize the fact that the town is doing these proclamations and raising awareness for particular organizations, in particular this when we're talking about Easter seals. And we know that the impact that it has on everybody's lives, and we're very fortunate to have these type of organizations to help people that need it. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'll just,
You gonna jump up for a picture?
what?
Get a picture?
Yeah, I'll jump up and you jump up and we will get a picture. How's that? If you don't mind. Come all the way over here for nothing.
Craig, I think this is a nice one for all of council, actually, to get their picture done with it like we used to.
Yes.
Not much room up there.
There you go. All right.
A little bit to your left, here, Ralph. There we go. Yes, everybody look.
All right. Thank you. Excellent. Yeah, thank you very much. Or you can take off or you can stay. It's up to you.
Thanks very much.
See you, Ray. See you again.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Okay, February is Heart Month. Deputy Mayor.
Proclamation, February is Heart Month. Whereas February is Heart Month, a time to raise awareness about the importance of cardiovascular health and an opportunity to focus on what we can do to improve our heart health. Whereas heart disease impacts almost all of us at some point in our lives, either indirectly or directly. It is the second leading cause of death for both men and women in Canada. Whereas prevention plays an important role when it comes to heart and cardiovascular disease. Healthy behaviors such as being physically active, eating a variety of healthy foods, limiting highly processed foods, not smoking, getting proper sleep, and managing stress can help reduce your risk of developing heart disease.
Therefore, I, Craig Scott, Mayor of the Town of Torbay, do hereby proclaim that February 2025 be recognized as Heart Month in the Town of Torbay. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
I'd just like to add about the importance of this, and I think that we have somebody still sitting here that might also want to say a few words to that as well, knowing, and I think last year he probably did, but I think if not all of us, which this says directly, we have for sure indirectly been involved, and I know that I sure have, so this is a very important proclamation.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Dave, Mike.
I know, you're here.
This is going to be a proclamation. I was going to be here for it, but
Yeah.
it's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Literally, yeah, given that, like I said, the last 20 years, 16 months ago, probably,
Yeah.
like I said, I'm on the ground. So, yeah, no, it's very near to my heart, I guarantee you. But I can't impress upon you how important it is for the things you described, preventing that type of an event for people. And should it ever happen to you, you got a great group of guard people here that can come and respond to that as well. So I saw your AED by the door, which is pretty nice to see as well. And like I said, take care of yourselves, and wouldn't hurt to get some first aid training to make sure you're aware that whatever happens, you're able to jump in and help. I was blessed to have 2 people to jump in and kept me alive for over 10 minutes. So if you ever need it, I hope there's someone there to help you as well.
All right, and I'm happy, I'm glad that they were there to help you, and that you're sitting here still with us.
Still here.
And we love having you here. All right, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you guys, you guys do an awesome job for us as well.
Thank you.
See ya.
All right, see
See
you
ya.
later.
All right, sit there, come on.
All right. Q&A, we have none. Mayor's report, I really don't have much. I will share with council that Sandy and I, last Friday, was it Sandy?
Yeah.
We did an
Friday.
interview with the Globe and Mail reporter that came down from Halifax to talk to us about our water situation, the entire water situation we talked to them about, and I'll let you know when it comes out. I asked her if it was gonna be behind a paywall, and she said she would send me a free gift article, so once I get it, I'll share it with you. I think it's important that we continue to advocate for, which we do, and push forward to try and come to a resolution for this water situation with the people out in the area with contamination, plus our own situation with lack of water and our need for secondary water supply. So we continue to work on that, and I don't think there's certainly a day doesn't go by that it's not on my mind. I know it's on council's mind, and it's on Sandy's mind constantly, so.
Mayor, did they indicate where they got the tip from with, for a story?
Well, I will say this. When first the testing started happening as a result of Health Canada lowering the guidelines, the residents in the area did ask us to, not to be too talkative about it, for lack, I guess, of a better word. But once the story about the class action lawsuit went public, there was no avoiding it at that point. And, I think it's important that we continue behind the scenes doing what we're doing, working with Transport Canada, Health Canada, MP Thompson. Now, we sent a letter to provincial government to inform them of the situation and make sure that we're doing our part to try and move that and facilitate that forward. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Yes.
I will say that her focus is going to be not only on us, it's more of a national, but I think Torbay is the driving force.
Good.
But they're looking at it more on a national perspective as well, right? So it should draw attention
Yeah, sure.
to it.
All right, where are we? Business Rising. Tony, you got anything?
Just on the water issue, I noticed that we did circulate a letter to the province in terms of giving them the heads up and how it may impact us from a budget perspective in 2026. I just want to say that let's make sure we internally keep an eye on that process, because it probably won't do us a lot of good if we wait until our budget cycle in order to do it. We need to catch them on their budget cycle. So as soon as we see any impairment in what we may think, or if any new assessments come in, then we should probably just extrapolate that and then make sure to get them on side to understand that we're looking for something to cover that in the next fiscal period in 2026 year.
Right.
So other than that, great, thanks, and fingers crossed we get some positive response from the federal government and
Yeah, and
get something moving.
Sandy and I did discuss that when we were compiling that letter about putting a dollar figure in there, but we don't really know what it is.
No.
So there's no point in us as the town throwing an imaginary number out there. We gotta have some facts to back it up. So once we get those, as they start coming in, then we'll adjust, as your point.
Thank you.
All right, correspondence. We got no correspondence, holy moly, boss, nobody wants to send us nothing.
Good.
Although I thought I did, thought I received something from somebody, and I told them I was gonna have it added as a correspondence. I think it was a lady to do with the, I don't know what it is. There's a 5K walk for, I think it's a cancer one. Anyway, it'll come forward. they're looking for us as a town to put a team in this summer. I think it's in May. She's been doing it now for, I'm not gonna guess the number. I'm gonna find out where that correspondence is and have it included in the next council package. That's the best way to do that, instead of trying to remember it off the top of my head. I got a wicked memory, but I don't wanna say something that's wrong. All right, committees of council. Planning, land use development, Councilor Pollock.
Thank you, Your Worship. Item number 1 is for referral from Logia Middle Cove, Outer Cove. The background is written there in the recommendation report and relates to an area that buffers a shared boundary, I guess, in the Jones Pond area. So the motion to advise Logia Middle Cove, Outer Cove that the town of Torbay has reviewed the proposed amendments, particularly in light of a shared municipal boundary, and has no objection to the planned St. John's Urban Regional Plan Amendment number 108, 2025, Municipal Plan Amendment number 2, 2024, and Development Regulation Amendment number 3, 2024, and to further recommend that Logia Middle Cove, Outer Cove may consider commentary outlined in the attached background report, and for both towns to explore the potential for a walkway loop around Jones Pond. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
Questions? It talks about a wetland that could be impacted. We've got the protection for the Jones Pond wetland down there. Wondering what impact analysis has been done around that. Second thing is, if this is developed, are we looking at a community that borders us with zero net runoff, so there won't be impacts to our local residents? Is that a consideration? And the other thing that I would be concerned about with this coming forward is the conversation about what's been happening with the water situation in Torbay, where that area, I know we did our water mapping in 2015, about 10 years ago, but you know, the concern I would have of encouraging any further development anywhere in that area, understanding that, you know, we don't have up-to-date any more than 10 years ago, looking at what happens with the water tables in that space when it comes to development, that there's no modeling that I'm aware of. So those are 3 concerns that I have with this application. I'm wondering if consideration has been made to those, and if committee can speak to those questions that I have, please. Thanks, Mayor.
Sure, I'll let the director speak, though. She's probably more eloquent in the actual details. We did talk about the wetland and the impact on the water and things of that nature. Obviously, water is out of our control. Sorry, Judy, go ahead. I won't keep speaking if I'm going to ask you to speak.
I'm not sure. So this is a referral to do with an amendment to the regional plan, so they being Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, can consider the a subdivision in that area. So, I mean, we would be subject to meeting our guidelines to do with wetlands. We're not privy to what Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove might require. We have here in this commentary, as well as in the last commentary for a similar type of referral for that same subdivision, we did reference stormwater runoff. You know, I know Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove has zero net runoff requirements, similar like detention requirements, similarly to the town of Torbay. So, and with regards to wells and well water, that's governed by the Provincial Water Resources Division. So the applicant, similarly as would be in Torbay, and Logie Bay, Middle Cove, Outer Cove, would have to apply to the Provincial Water Resources Division for a groundwater study. So they would have to go through a study process, similar as a subdivision would be required here. So this process right now is before they can even consider an application. So the amendment has to come first, and then they would consider reviewing the application for the subdivision. So it's not an application to develop the land right now, it's an application to put the right zoning into place so they can consider the application at a later date.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Item 1B has been removed from the report, and C is a motion to accept 2025 permit listings for the week ending February 13th, 2025 as tabled. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
Items from verbal update, there's a couple of
I'm-
things, sorry.
No.
Permit listings.
Yeah, I'm not voting for the permit listings. I do see in there that there is a serviced,
Well, you have to vote for or against it.
Mayor, may I please ask for respectful conduct in the chamber?
Oh,
Please.
listen,
The
You said you
tone, I didn't
weren't,
appreciate that.
you said you weren't voting for the permit
I
listing.
didn't say I wasn't voting. I wasn't given the opportunity. The question was called, and you looked at me as if, well, how come you're not voting for it? I wasn't even given a chance to say why I'm voting against it. So I will speak now and share
Go ahead.
that one of the items in there is a serviced allocation under the motion that I voted against, based against all of the tangly conversation that happened around water allocations. So there's one item in there that causes me concern, where we're saying we're going to allow another serviced lot to be provided. That's already been issued as per the policy, and I can't support that. So I'm gonna vote against it when the opportunity arises, please.
Okay, thank you. Opposed? Okay,
Thank you.
not me opposed, sorry.
Thank you.
Carried. Thank you. Anything additional?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'm sorry, I'm having to go back and forth here to log in, but to sign on to my report. I can't seem to get the continuity right tonight for some reason. Must be my mixed up little mind. I just want to update folks, we had a stop work order, removal order for Tapper's Cove, and in discussions and amongst ourselves and that, and the fact that we had done anything, we are reinstating a deadline of May 31st, 2025, related to that, to have that issue taken care of. Referencing even to what Councillor Appleby had talked about here, and there was some discussion last time round about the allocation that was given to Cannon Marsh Road and the policy. So item 3A, item 2 attached, you'll see the resolution that was put forward for council to vote on back then. And just for clarity purposes, because it was sort of like, it was a surprise to everybody that the allocation was there. This addresses the additional allocations that were associated with that motion back in 154/2024. So since the passing of that resolution, town has issued 5 infill allocations, with a total of 2 remaining of the 7 that we had discussed. Thomas Gardens was one, Riverdale Drive was another, there were 2 on Riverdale Drive, 1 on Goss's and Rogers Crescent, and 1 on Cannon Marsh Road. So I just wanted to let everybody know that they're there and reflected in the permit listings as per the vote on the policy back then, or the motion. I just wanted there for clarity so everyone knows where we stand.
Okay,
Other than that, Your Worship.
thank you. All right. Admin and HR, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. It's pretty straightforward in here. There's no motions required. And that we had our meeting on. We've got the same problem now that Councillor Pollard has in getting it. Still can't see the date. On February 11th. Thanks, Sandy. And recruitment, so I think that we said at the last meeting, the immigration settlement coordinator, it's a 12-month placement in reporting into economic development tourism, is Julia, and I'll leave it up to probably Carrie to pronounce her last name for me, because I'm not sure.
Fedenenko.
Fedenenko. Anyway,
Fedonenko.
congratulations to Yulia, and looking at seeing her on the 24th here at the town. And the museum, the manager for the History House is closing on February 21st. And that's it. If anybody got any questions, or next meeting is on the 25th. Yep.
I have a question. Looking at the convo here around travel, what was the heading? Employee professional development, learning and training policy. I'm asking that council get an update on what's happening with the travel policy as well. It's come to my understanding that council has again put $10,000 in the budget for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. This happened last year as well. And my understanding is that council has decided that $10,000 is to be there for members of council to participate at the FCM table, to go to the conference alone. I have sat at that table for the last 5 years, and I've been told explicitly, you have $2,000 and change to spend to travel there. I've never gone above that. I've paid over out of my own pocket to participate at the conference in Toronto, and I've also participated out of my own pocket with the meetings that we had in October, the advisory committees. I'm curious to understand, the policy was changed at the time when we were looking at coming out of COVID and me participating in that space. And the policy was changed not once but twice by this council, and discretion of council was that we were capped out and there's nowhere else to spend the money. But this last 2 years now, council has put an allocation for $10,000 in the budget and has been very clear that that money is for people who want to go to conference alone. So I have a board meeting that's happening in March in a seat that I've been appointed to by this council with the restriction of not having any money to participate, but there's $10,000 in there, and an email just came out that I'm aware of that said there are other members of council to be considered. So my question is there a barrier being put in place for the ability to participate and represent at this table? It's been at least twice that I've been there in person, where I have been in the room or invited into a meeting with the Prime Minister of Canada to represent this town at that table. Yet when the time comes to participate, the travel policy is not on the docket here for conversation, has been at some points, been hauled off. And again, now the ability for me to participate in that way is being impacted directly unless I pay out of my own pocket to participate. So I'm asking committee to take that back, have a look at it, and if we are going to have a policy for $10,000 with a board member or a non-board committee member, at that table with the expectation to participate as meaningfully as possible, I'm wondering what is the situation here and what are we looking to do? Because personally, I find it difficult to understand why council is putting $10,000 in there and saying it's only for attending that conference. And the fact that I've been sitting at this table for all these years, and there was, when I went to Toronto, just by being there in the booth, swiping my card, had us have a potential for $100,000 worth of savings. There's millions of dollars that we're applying for right now through infrastructure and public works when it comes to the water development that comes through the FCM work. We've had several conversations about work that I've done advocating with ministers, senators, and MPs about bringing money directly into this community through things like the gas tax and what can be. So I want to ask if committee can take that back, look at it, and come back to council with some sort of recommendation about what we're doing with our travel policy and also what's happening with the FCM allocation and policy, because I think it's important that there's fair equal opportunity to show up and grow and represent in this community in those spaces. And I've been invited. I serve because the president has appointed me the last couple of years when my seat was not approved at this table. And when my seat was approved as a board director, I was asked to vice chair the first year and chair the next 2 years a national committee. So I'd like to get some clarification, understanding about what is happening with that, and I'd like for it to come back to the public chamber so we can all have an open public discussion about what's happening with that FCM funding, please.
So my understanding, when council agreed to put that $10,000 in the budget, It was specifically for 2 members of council to go to conference. That's the reason we put it in there. That's why the email came out from CAO last week, to look for expressions of interest from members of council who would like to go to the FCM conference in June, is the same?
May,
May.
late May.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, the short part of it, but yeah, committee could take it back and take a look at it. But that's the reason council put it in the budget in the first place.
So Mayor, am I clear to understand for the public consumption that there's $10,000 year 2 in that budget with a sitting member of this council at the table, and this council is deciding to take that? Last year it was for 3. It was myself, Councillor Manning.
It was actually for 2, and then council took a decision to add the 3rd person, and we went over budget. So that's
But we
why.
didn't go over budget.
We did, did we
We
go over
got,
anything?
yes,
It was 15,000.
Right.
it was more than that.
The money that was paid out of it came out of my stipend, though. The difference of it was divided 3 ways, and the difference came out of my travel policy,
Yeah,
was my understanding.
Yeah, the 10,000 wasn't enough for 3. It only covered 2.
But the rest of it came
The
out of our
the rest of it
personal
had to be
allotment.
divided amongst the
Right.
other, yeah.
So it didn't go over budget, it was still within what was budgeted, it just had to come
Went
out of
over
the
the
individual.
$10,000 allocation.
Right, but councillors had
All right,
to,
okay.
councillors had to take it out of their own allotment to participate and go. That cost was covered, it was not over budget,
The overage.
yeah.
Right, so, to that point, before we go any further, can we just park that now, take it back, look at it, the reason, and knowing the reason why council put it there? Go ahead.
I just want to make it clear that we did go over the 10,000 budgeted allocation of $10,000. And as a result of that, a couple of us were limited because we had to take it out of our personal allocation in order to cover it. So in actual fact, the $10,000 that was allocated was over. Because as a result of that, I think it was brought to my attention, there was nobody that attended the M&L conference and what have you, and a couple of other things that have taken place because there wasn't enough left in the budget.
Right.
And to, I guess, to elaborate on the FCM, I know years ago, we had to literally fight to have 1 person to attend, and then we managed to get it so that 2 people on council could attend FCM. There was no looking at for an allocation if you were a board member or what have you to attend. It was that everybody would have an opportunity to attend FCM during that duration that they were on council. So I just want to make sure that that's put in there as well. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
To be clear, just to be clear, so I'm understanding that this council is saying, Trina, we will endorse you to sit at that table, but you have $2,000 to spend. Meanwhile, we, for 2 years in a row now, will allocate money, 10 grand, for 2 other people to participate at that table, and you can't go to the in-person board meeting. We're not encouraging you to go to the event, because the way the email read, it was encouraging certain other councillors to participate. Are there barriers being put in place to impact my participation at that table?
No, the barrier is financial barrier.
It is a
Where this-
financial
where this-
barrier.
Where this council, 4 years ago, decided to lower council travel from 30,000 down to 15, basically inhibiting anybody from going anywhere. I was embarrassed to that last year at the municipal conference that we had nobody from the town of Torbay there. We're 10th or 11th largest municipality in the province, and we had nobody besides me sitting around there to vote on important things for the town and to be able to take that in, because members of council that went to FCM had to overextend their budget and used up all the money. And when council put that $10,000 in the budget 2 years ago, and last year, and this year, it was specifically for 2 members of council to go to FCM conference. That's it. I mean, that's why we did it. So it's not a barrier specifically pointed at anybody. It's a dollar amount that was put there for a specific reason, and that's why it's there.
So fact-checking, you did attend as a board
I
member.
did.
So there was a representative for the town of Torbay at the M&L events. That is fact-checked, that's true, because the statement was made, there was no one from
I said I
MNL.
was there.
Right, but there was a statement that MNL had no one there.
We had
You-
nobody there.
You
From
were
the town.
there as the mayor and.
All right, that's, you know what, I'm done talking about this now. We're gone way beyond what it was. You asked for the committee to take it back and look at it. The committee can take it back and look at it. But I just wanted to set a few things straight here. That the reason that money was there for 2 members of this council to attend FCM conference. That's it. Okay. Anything else on the HR committee report?
One last question. Can I get, for the next public meeting from the Department of Finance, how much money was left in that GL at the end of the year? Because, Mayor, no, as a point of fact, the statement has been made here tonight that there was no money left for travel or professional development in the year. The
No,
fact of the matter
individual
is,
people.
the fact of the matter is, individual counselors are given a stipend, which they choose how they want to spend it. And we understood, when that $10,000 last year was on the table, that $10,000 was there for the 3, and the rest of it was to come out of our personal allocation, which
Right.
is what happened. That was a decision that was made by each counselor who participated at that time.
No, it wasn't.
In the last 2 years, 3 years, since we implemented this new policy, I've spent over $7,000 of my own money to attend things for the town because my budget was cut. There's no mechanism within our policy to transfer money out of somebody's unused money to reimburse me or to reimburse anybody else for their additional expenses. It's written in the policy, everybody knows, if you go over your allocated amount, it's up to you to spend it out of your own personal funds. If you choose to go somewhere, that's how it is. We can't have it every way. We can't say, well, we want to be able to do this and we want to be able to do that. Everybody has to stick to their budget. So, yeah, you know what? Last year, there was probably still money left in that overall professional development budget for council, because some members of council didn't go anywhere, didn't do anything.
So to fact check the statement, I
Oh,
will please
you know, no,
request,
I'm done talking about it. Let's move on, please.
I'm requesting that the amount of money that was left over comes forward in the public chamber.
Yes, the amount of money that was left over,
Thank you.
and also the policy where it states that each individual member of council gets a certain amount of money. So bring it all forward. There's always seems to be an argument around here around FCM. That's all we ever hear talk about. I'm so sick of talking about it. All right. Corporate services. Councilor Pollard.
Thank you, Your Worship. We met on the 12th of February. Payroll remittance report there for the 30th to the 12th of February, in the amount of $149,321.59 for 59 employees. Check register is there if anyone has any questions on it, as is the accounts payable transactions. There's invoices here for over $5,000 for approval. They are as follows. January 2025, CIBC Mellon pension contributions for January, $44,581.76. Provincial information and library services, the rent for 2025, $22,750. February 2025, Canada Life February group insurance, $14,692. GFL Environmental monthly garbage collection, $67,638.78. Harvey's Oil Limited diesel depot tanks, diesel in the tanks for the depot, $12,215.52. And another one from Harvey's for diesel as well, in the amount of $7,214.66. Street lighting from Newfoundland Power in the amount of $19,698.45. Payroll deductions for January 16th to the 31st to Receiver General in the amount of $102,879.73. Tormont for snow blower repairs in the amount of $18,290.22. And WSP for the water supply studies in the amount of $764.45, all for a total of $317,025.57. So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Questions?
Question, if I could.
Go ahead.
CIBC Mellon pension contributions, are we still doing that? I thought that we had moved everything over to, with the
Group-
policies.
Group benefits.
No, it's just benefits.
Oh, it's just the
It's not
benefits. The pension hasn't changed. Okay, thank you for the clarification.
All right, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Motion number 2 relates to the pickup tender approval. Bids were reviewed for a half-ton pickup, and we're suggesting that it get awarded to the lowest bidder. Hickman Motors Limited in the amount of $69,122 plus HST. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
There's a donation request here for a resident who diagnosed with incurable lung disease at an early age of 43. It's for a double lung transplant, or travel to have a double lung transplant taken care of. So in accordance with town donation policy, the committee recommends a donation of $200. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Questions?
I'm gonna support this, but I do have to ask the question about the policy here. Are we setting a precedent for other members of the community who may be ill to apply to council for resources to travel? Like, I understand this is out of province. Is there a bar to be met on what's happening with the situation like this? I'm not against supporting this. I do understand that this is something a resident needs, and I fully support that. The question, though, is around the precedent we're setting, and is there a threshold of, because we do this now for this person, the next person who reaches out and says, well, I have an incurable disease and I need treatment, how do we make sure that we are being fair to all residents with a situation like this? Is our policy, it says as per our policy, so does our policy allow for health concerns in this space for donations, or is it something we need to go back and look at from a policy perspective, or is it because it's out of province travel that's required that's bringing this forward? I'd just like to understand a bit better from committee's perspective what that conversation was and what consideration we're giving before we approve this, please.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess the conversation, it seems to be a policy that allows us to help people and residents who require a certain extra something throughout the terms of their life. We do a lot for sports and things of that nature, and we do it for special requests, I guess what it boils down to. According to policy, $200 is the maximum for this type of request. There is attached, as you notice, a donation policy, draft donation policy, because we also struggle with this. We struggle with this on a few other approvals along the way as well. So we're trying to nail down exactly what our policy should be and what the limits of it are on a go-forward basis. So I ask everybody to take a look at the draft policy that's attached and come back to us with any comments and clarity that they may want around that. And that's the best I can
That
say at
draft
this time.
policy would have to be adopted by council, though, would it not, Councillor Poppert?
Yes.
Which it has not been at this point.
No.
Right,
Not the draft policy is there, no. The old policy is there.
okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other
I'd
comments?
have to make the same thing. This is the first time that I've seen one coming in like this. So with regards, we probably are, while I support this, we are probably opening up in this precedent setting. Just by the fact that we have this in tonight and to approving it, to say that then for anybody else that's going forward, because then it comes down to what MCP is covering, and are people actually on their own when they have to go out of province? I thought MCP covered the cost when you had to go out of the province. So again, I don't know, like, it's there. I personally would ask for this to be deferred until we know what our policy is going to be on a go-forward basis, because I can see any number of people, residents now, coming forward with the same situation. We had somebody here not long ago that had to go to Mexico for treatment, they never came to the town looking for. And we have any number of those GoFundMe that are out there now for the same situation. So I'd suggest until the policy is revised to look at this, I suggest that we defer this until such a time to prevent others from doing the same thing.
Yeah, I don't have any problem deferring if that's the way council wants to go with it.
I'm just,
I know it's on that border things. I mean, it comes down to, well, we need to support, but we don't need to support at the end of the day. I'm not against voting for it, but I certainly understand where council's coming from and overall. And we do acknowledge that there are some gaps in the policy overall in terms of what we can cover, what we should cover, and maybe we shouldn't do any at all. I said that before, but anyway, here we go. That's fine. You wanted to
Before we
defer it?
defer, can I just ask, is this deferral going to impact the time that this resident will be traveling? Like, are we going to cause the resident financial hardship in any way by deferring at this point?
I can't answer that question without having Dave, do you know?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, Mike and Dave?
So,
Dave?
I got a
I
question.
don't believe there was a timeline given. I think at some point, I can go back and check, I believe they had to travel to, out of province to be available when becomes available. So I'm not really sure, Trina, what the answer is on the timeline, but I can certainly find out. I don't think the furthest for our students will be.
It does say that it will in time be faced with travel.
Yes.
So it looks like a request for future travel. That's
Then
the way
I
it's worded.
I support the deputy mayor's request for deferral until we have further information and look at what does MCP cover, what is that threshold, how do we do this in a right way that's equal and fair to residents. I'm fully supportive of looking at what people need in a space like this, but we need to be responsible to how we go about doing that.
Okay, I only have one, just a clarification question. So, right now, our current donation policy, this can fall within it,
Council has-
because it's loose, right?
council
It's very-
has the
oh,
discretion.
Yeah, it's
Council
very
has
general.
discretion.
That, I guess that goes back to Tony's point and to Trina's as well. The new policy needs to be adopted by council. So the committee has asked me to draft a policy, which we do have a rough draft. That the policy is attached in the minutes of the committee for your review as well. So I would suggest that if you could come back to the committee with your comments and suggestions on it. Our current policy is over 20 years old. I think it's dated 2005. So it is very loose, very general, and the policy that we are drafting right now sort of is more clearly outlines what the rules and procedure around requesting a donation would be. So
Okay.
again, I just ask that you all review.
It will also include a form, right, David, which we didn't have before.
Documentation.
Yeah.
In the past, we have not required, or we have not had a standard request format. It can either be by email, phone, anything. What I'm suggesting is that we actually put in a standardized application that everybody would have to complete, whether it's a donation of financial cash or if it's in kind. So again, I just think we need to tighten up our process and our policy around those things.
All right, so, can I get a unanimous consent to withdraw that motion for now? And then we'll bring it back at another time?
I'll move to defer.
Second.
Well,
Yeah,
all right,
we should.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you.
The next motion relates to a donation request we had from the DARE program. As you know, we had discussions around this a number of times. We had discussion around it sometime last year, and we went back to DARE and, or the RNC, whatever, and they didn't really respond to us in terms of coming back in terms of what they want for. So we went back to the group to find out exactly how many grade 6 students there were in the school itself. And they came back with 140, David, was it, somewhere around there? 140, and they figured, they said that about $1,000 would cover the cost of supplies and that to actually deliver the program to the students. And unfortunately, when we were going through, you going to say something? No, I got two motions, one for 15, one for 1,000. So the conversation around it was taking a budget time, but we didn't address it this budget time to specifically earmark anything for deer as we had done the previous year. I don't know why, there was an oversight. So in talking to David, we had see if we could come up with the substantial money to cover off the deer programs. We all had the original discussion around the importance of it. So the committee recommends a donation of $1,000. So moved.
Second?
I thought it was 1,500.
Moved and seconded, it's 1,500 on
It's
the motion.
1,500 in the motion.
1,500 in here.
It's 1,500 there, Councillor Pollard.
That's interesting, because I'm looking at a motion that says 1,000 as well as this one here. In this hand here, it says 1,500. The conversation,
Can we move 1,500?
the conversation around, if my memory serves me right, was we had talked about $1,500 firstly, right? And then they came back and responded to us saying that it'd be $1,000 worth of supplies, approximately. So the motion was written for $1,000?
No,
Okay,
it was.
just reading it. Go ahead.
Originally, it cost on average about $13 per student.
Yep.
There's roughly 140 children at the school. They had estimated the cost to be somewhere around $1,800, $1,900. After talking with the constable responsible for the program, they said that $1,500 would be able to cover off the entire program for the kids in Torbay. So that's where the 1,500 came from. It was originally 2,000 as well. They had estimated 3, and then the motion was for 15.
Sorry, I stand, because I'm looking at a B that says request $1,000 and down below the motion asks for $1,500. That's pretty good. Anyway, I'm fine with $1,500 too, as
All right.
well. And do we talk about where that was coming from, David? Was that the one that we said public relations, yes? Because we didn't have the money covered off necessarily in our donation budget.
Okay, all right, motion for 1,500. And seconded?
Second.
Seconded. Comments?
If I could. I've got friends who've lost kids to fentanyl. This is a very real thing that's happening in our schools, in our community, and our children are impacted. I know of families in our community who are and have directly been impacted by this. Very, very happy to see this donation come forward. I'm very happy to see the partnership and the work that we've been doing with the Royal Newfoundland Constabulary around safe communities, creating awareness. The DARE program in particular is a very, very good success story with the schools in this region. So I think this is a fabulous thing to do. I'm very happy to hear that the constable advised that $1,500 would cover the cost for the work that's being done in our community, and would happily support this motion. Thank you to committee for your work on this. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any other comment? Go ahead, Rob.
No, I just want to say that, we've been contributing to this program for years now. But at the same time, we always notified the other towns in the area who got kids going to the same school that, why don't they come on board? So I think just a letter or whatever to the towns, reach out and just make them aware that, their kids are affected as well.
Yeah, good point.
I'd just like to add that I've had the opportunity the last couple of years to attend the graduation of the DARE program at Juniper Ridge. And like this says, it's great to see the relationship that the students have with the RNC when they go through this program. So again, I know that it's been up and down the last year or so of how much we should be contributing, and it's good to see that this is the amount. So again, I'm all in favor. I think that it's a great program.
Okay, thank you. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Another donation request for Northeast Eagles Hockey Association. And once again, we have many discussions around it. And we had talked about the number of.
Before we touch this, I'm in a conflict.
Okay.
My daughter is, she plays with the Northeast United 18 team, so I have to step away from this one. There's a financial component for me, and I'm directly in conflict.
And I guess that is, because my grandson, I just put it out there, plays with Northeast Avalon as well, so be in conflict, so is there enough for,
I have
To vote
I have
on
a
three,
question, I
yeah.
have a question regarding that though. Because this donation is going to the Northeast Eagles Hockey Association
over?
in general, that makes you guys one of the, what's it called?
Yeah, I know what you're getting at, but that wouldn't necessarily apply because these are individual relatives
Yeah,
of the councillors. So I'm not sure that that would really apply. So I
So
would leave that to the
that's-
discretion of the councillors.
all right,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
It would be,
Okay, so the amount, bottom line, the amount closely mimics what we would give multiple teams multiple times. With the information, when we provide the information to Northeast Avalon, that is gonna be for the benefit of those kids from Torbay. And so we said $1,500 rather than have to get all these 50s and 100s coming at us over the year. So the committee recommends donation of $1,500 from Northeast Eagles Hockey Association, so moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. So I have a question. So this means that going forward for the rest of this year, we're not gonna entertain any more donation requests from individuals from the Northeast Avalon Hockey.
Eagles.
Okay? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
So means my report, Your Worship.
All right. Thank you, sir. I won't ask if there's any additional questions, because there's nothing else on it. We were into everything. All right. Economic Development, Tourism. Counselor Tepper.
Okay, we had our meeting last Monday. Let me see the date, the 11th, or Tuesday, sorry. On the History House front, the basement study is to be completed within 2 weeks. Of course, there's a mold issue down there. And the job posting for the museum manager was noted in the HR report that the job is posted. We did have some discussion on the RBC building, and we've deferred some. We did have some a motion prepared actually, but we're going to defer that until the next meeting because we got some a new bidder in on that as well. So it looks very positive actually. And the website update, Canoe utilized for procurement, and we'll begin a process this week. So that's great to get that underway. The Best of Torbay event is scheduled for April 27th at the Torbay Common. This is a collaborative joint event with recreation and for volunteers and business. And as mentioned again in the HR report, the Yulia has been hired for that position, for the Immigration Settlement Coordinator. The spring guide is printed and available on our website. The History House update winter program is ongoing. The Manion project, we had a meeting last week among some of the interested parties in this, and it was a very positive meeting, so we're going to hopefully get that back on track. So there was actually an independent short film shot there today with kids from Torbay, and there's a lot of interest in that, so hopefully it went well. Okay, if there's any question, that's my report.
Just one comment, when that information comes back on the building, can we, because I know the discussion around has been space and library potential usage and all that stuff throughout a number of conversations we had for about a year or more. Can we have all that information from us so we can all know what we're looking at from a financial perspective? So we know what the longer term rental looks like versus what the opportunity costs we're giving up for that space, please.
Kerry has done a lot of work on that already, so we're hoping to have, but I think for the next committee of the whole meeting. We're gonna, that's on the agenda.
Yeah, next week.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks. Any other questions?
Just one. The last I understood, we were having a conversation with the RNC about the use of that facility, so we're not going to explore that any further?
No, they did come down and tour the building, and they didn't follow up after. And I've been speaking with them, so they appear to have not pursued it.
Okay, thank you for that, appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you, sir. Infrastructure and Public Works, Councilor Rathke.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a couple of motions in here, but I do have to ask the question about being in a conflict for the first motion. It has to do with the culvert, and although the culvert itself, the motion for the culvert is not pertinent to work that's been done, but I do know that work has been done by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans looking at what's happening with the culvert. So I just want to ask council for clarification if I am in any way in a conflict in that space to bring that motion forward. If I am, I'm happy to step away if there's any concern. I spoke with the director about it in the committee meeting and asked the question, and Brian said the work that was done with DFO was separate than the work that's being done here. So maybe if the director can speak to that for council, then council could take a decision. But I just want to be very clear that I flagged it. I asked the question in the committee meeting, and I'm asking it again now. And if there's any concern about conflict, I will happily walk away. But this is a change order for the cost of the culvert, not actually work that is or was done by the Department of Fisheries and Oceans. But because there was any involvement at all, I just want to bring it up and ask the question. So maybe, Brian, if I can ask you to speak to that first?
Certainly. Yeah, so like I said, this work is for the change order to the sizing of pipes. The only involvement with Department of Fisheries and Oceans, should have permitting, was a letter of support, or a letter of advice, sorry. And I'm not even 100% sure if I should be speaking to it, because my wife works directly in that department. But there's only a letter of advice that was offered.
Okay.
So there was no permit as such.
So this is for a change order, and I just want to declare it and ask the question and be super clear. If there's any concern at this point about conflict of interest, that I've raised it at committee, we both raised our mutual concerns about conflict. Understanding that there isn't any, I'm happy to proceed, but I guess I'm looking for clarification here from council.
So you're asking council to vote? on
I'm
whether you're
asking
in-
council to vote. I think that would be responsible at this
To
point.
that point, I think that Fisheries and Oceans would have to be the applicant in order for it to be
Yeah,
a
I-
conflict, no? But we can,
I don't think it's conflict.
you don't think it is? I don't believe it is either.
No.
But we can do a vote, we can vote.
Please.
Yeah, just a quick vote.
Yeah. Somebody needs to put forward a motion.
I move that Councillor Appleby is not in conflict on this issue.
Mover,
Second.
seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Carry on.
Thank you. Okay, so if we just go back up to the top, we had a conversation about the work that's been done for the trails. The trail development combo has been happening. The Colonel Amherst monument conversation has been ongoing. The bypass road to the bridge area, trails in the Eagle Nest area, and Flora Drive down to Indian Meal Lines. So those were the ones that we talked about at committee. The Canada Community Building Fund, which is the former gas tax project, so culverts and paving projects, the Department of Infrastructure and Public Works is working on a scope of work for a consultant for the project. I will reiterate my concern about the barriers to participation for me at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. There are hundreds of thousands of dollars that come into this community every year based on the work of the FCM. And Mayor, I'm really concerned about the comment that was made about there's an issue when we talk about FCM. The issue is about the barriers to participate at FCM, not the work of the FCM. So if I could clarify that for the record, and I would really hope that you would consider an apology about the comment about FCM, because they do a lot of really good work. So I'll park it there, but just parking it for now. New projects for 2025, so they're listed. The depot yard paving is happening this spring. The sewer pipe repair for the Balling line, obtaining quotes. Valve replacement at Fleming Hill and Torbay Road. Backwater valve at the lift station, Thorns Lane Pump House, Tindale Drive Pump House, water distribution model, working on the scope, and the panel replacement at lift station 216 Marine Drive, working on the scope of that. The Canada Community Building Fund tax projects from 2024, Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, the safety lights. So I believe the Deputy Mayor asked the question about that in the last meeting. The insurance has been sorted on that now. And the director is looking to get this sorted when the weather changes and the spring comes, so we can get that put in place. Please don't restart Windows in the middle of the update. The abutments and culvert replacement for Pine Ridge area, there's an update on that, as well for Woodfines Lane and Moores Valley Road. And thank you to the director for all the work that you've done on that. There is a, there's more work to do for Woodfines Lane and Moores Valley Road. During the review process, it was determined that the culvert size needed to be changed and additional culvert installed. The result was an increase of $13,238.75 plus HST. This is still within the budgeted amount. So we've reviewed the change order, and we're bringing forward the motion, and the motion is to accept change order number 1 in the amount of $13,238.75 plus HST for the extra work completed. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments?
I got a comment. I looked at the change order in detail, and I think the $13,000 is sort of misleading overall, because what brought my attention was the size of the culverts, and my ongoing concern about the work of engineers and the folks that we hire from a consulting perspective. The original culvert size in this was 600 mils, apparently, right? And they were priced at $13,125. The replacement culverts that are going in are $45,000. And they're 900 mils. That is a significant miss on an engineer's part to say that we need 600 mil culverts and then find out once you get in there, everything's priced up, and we could have been gone financing whatever we get the funding for to go from $13,000 worth of culverts to $45,000 worth of culverts. That is a lot of dollars. And the variance reflects the full project costs, which are savings on flag persons' times and everything else, so it doesn't really reflect the actual cost of the culverts. Anyway, bottom line is, my concern is our consultants and their potential to put us in some bad situations sometimes if they're not doing a proper work on their quoting scenario. I mean, 300, 600, that's a big miss. I don't care what to say in terms of someone looking at a river, especially in the day when you know you're going to go for the 100-year storm, whatever they go for. So, that's it.
600 to 900, right?
900, 600.
50% increase in size. Any other comment?
I think it would be fair to ask the Director of Infrastructure and Public Works to respond to that, if we could please. Brian, do you mind?
Sure. I don't disagree with the consulting side of things you're referring to, Councillor Pollard. Like I said, the culverts, so it was a sizing issue plus an additional culvert had been installed. So what normally would have happened there would have been a 2.4 meter culverts would have went in, but because of the road grade, we dropped an extra 900 mil culvert in, which added cost to it as well. And once you get to that size, like I say, culverts, once you get over a certain size, they do increase in cost a lot. But I do agree with your consulting comments.
Any other
That just reaffirms the whole thing. The fact you needed 3 rather than 2, and larger ones rather than smaller ones. I say no more. I rest my case. Anyway, that's all I got to say on that. Thanks.
Okay. Any other comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
All right, so projects from 2024 carry forward. They're all listed here. The gate enclosure to the depot, the front facade for the town office, and the fire department annex. The lift station capacity analysis is 80% complete. The wetland steward study project is going to be carried into 2025. We had a conversation about that, and this one's a really interesting conversation for the residents of Torbay. So I just wanted to expand on that one a little bit. What happened was when I went to Toronto for the FCN, I met with a consultant who happened to be there, who had wetland treatment systems as a business. And that's where that $100,000 conversation came in, because I went down, I questioned. And I went down, I asked the question, how does this make sense? Why does this make sense? So when I came to this table 7.5 years ago, we talked about, you know, dealing with the situation with sewage outfall. And the answer was a $20 million building that would go down at the beach that we would have to do. And we all looked at it as council at the time and said, we just can't afford $20 million right now to make that happen. So for the last 7.5 years that I've been here, we have been doing the best that we can to be compliant. However, raw sewage continues to go into our beautiful Torbay Harbor. So with this idea, what we're looking at is to see what kind of technologies could be available. The thing about these wetlands or other technologies, they can be done in a way where they're sized to respond to certain parts of the community. And because of the hills and the small areas that we may have for spaces like this, we want to do a really good job of understanding what technology is out there, how does it apply, and how could it be applied in the town of Torbay. So we've looked at this. There was an initial call that went out. We did get some responses. The province at the time came back and said, we kind of think you might want to look at that in a broader scope. So the director has been doing that, looking at what does that look like, and is now bringing back to committee the discussion about what options are available, how do we move forward and make sure that we are in compliance with what the province is asking of us to do in this space as well. So I just want to be clear, what we did with stormwater management discussion, we had a $10 million solution to deal with stormwater management. We broke it out over 10 years because we could do $1 million each year, but we couldn't do $10 million without raising taxes. The conversation here now with the wetland sewer study, and the reason why it's so important to do this work and get it right, is instead of having a $20 million price tag that you would have to put in right away for a treatment facility down at the beach, what we could be looking at now is an engineered solution that may happen over time where we can tackle this program in a cost-effective way that gives us new technologies to consider that may be environmentally friendly. So this is an ongoing discussion that we are looking at and working through with the provincial legislation and requirements to move forward. So just wanted to expand on that. The pump house analysis, the final draft. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
Just on the wetlands, where do we stand with the discussions with the province on it? Because they went to RFP last year
It did.
and came back telling us that we didn't explore all options or whatever it was. So
Right.
what was our recourse back to the province? Where do we stand with that now?
So
We still
my-
waiting to discuss with them, or?
My understanding is that that Brian, our director, received correspondence saying you were not expansive enough in the call that you put in for technology. So Brian looked at that and brought it back to committee, and committee said, if that's the case, we're certainly open to exploring whatever technology is available for the taxpayers of Torbay. So right now, Brian is looking at what are the technologies that are available to consider that, to bring it back. And then he's looking at redoing the request for proposals so that we have that broader scope that allows for that analysis to see where to from here. We don't know yet what that technology may be. We're not sure. But what we're trying to do is figure out what is the right answer for the residents of the town of Torbay go forward. Brian, is there anything I've missed, or are you?
No, I think you touched on it. One other thing, we did do a BAT, or Best Alternative Study, back in 2014, 15, I believe it was.
Yeah.
So I've got that on my desk now, and I'm reviewing that again. So we may end up coming around to some of the ideas from that. And as you recall, we did have a meeting with the wetland individual that Councillor Appleby, Mr. Sharp, and that's where we sort of headed in that direction. And like I say, right now, we're sort of wavering around that now, if that's the best solution or not. But we're still looking at decentralizing, so we don't have one major treatment down at the beach, as Councillor Appleby said, with a building that would possibly be a eyesore.
And a significant cost. The other thing is, you know, through my years of participating at the Municipal Newfoundland Labrador Association and table, there was an ability there to look at the technologies that have been applied by different communities, and different communities have successfully applied different technologies in Newfoundland Labrador. So the analysis here is just, you know, broadening out that scope. When initially this happened, and I was in Toronto, I swiped my card. We had $100,000 potential worth of savings in value out of that. So we were like, oh, well, if that's the case, let's have a look and see, $100,000 saving to the town, how fabulous would that be? But, which again is back to the conversation of my questions earlier about going to the FCN. But this right here is fair. It's fair to say, broaden your scope, look at what technologies are out there, let's see what the best thing is for the residents, and let's see if we can get the best bang for our buck to clean it up, have a positive environmental impact, and a more reasonable cost associated with innovative solutions for our residents.
So my problem with all that is, we already did all that work. And I don't know how much we spent on it, a couple $100,000 probably to do that best available technology study at the time. It told us all available technologies, the cost of what it was to put them in, how much the operation cost on it, everything was. And they told us specifically at that time that the wetland option was not available to us because of where the outfall was. But we know now that it is available because we can disperse it in different areas of the town. But it kind of really bugs me that they're making us do that work over again that we've already done, and we've already spent all that money. And to allow us to go out to tender to do that extra work for the wetlands when we already got all the work done for the other piece. That's kind of where it bugs me, right?
So Mayor, in response to that, that study was done in 2014, 2015. Technology, of course, has advanced significantly in the last 10 years. The other point that comes to mind as you spoke about that, before I was elected at this table, I remember coming to this town asking about the stormwater management situation and being told by the council today that we weren't able to do that. And once we were elected, we did have a $10 million solution that came in place. We looked at the $10 million solution and said, this is not feasible. We can't make this happen or work. So we went back and looked at it and said, well, can we have an engineered solution that breaks it out annually? And so we could. So because of that work and the proven ability to find those solutions for residents, this now can be transferred to this situation with the lessons learned and the best practices that we've adopted as a municipality in the last 10 years. So that's the first point.
My point is, though, to your point about the new technology, all of those technologies listed out in that best available technology study are the ones that are available in Newfoundland Labrador. The wetlands one is also available in Newfoundland Labrador. Outside of those, there is no other technology, because unless it's proven here in the province, we can't take something from another place and apply it here because it's not allowed. The province won't approve it. This is my frustration with having to do all this work again that we've already spent a bunch of money on, and to get to the solution that we want to get, which is to engineer wetlands.
But Mayor, respectfully, different communities have different solutions. So some of them have domes and they have systems that they run through and they circulate.
All of that is in our
Which-
study, all of it.
Right, but that's my point. So there are varying technologies that have been applied across the province. And what we're doing, instead of saying it's just the wetlands, now we're expanding it to look at all those technologies to invite tenders for that, to see what that looks like.
I understand.
So that's the first thing. The second thing, and I think what you're touching on, is we did the study back in 2014, 2015, and at the time, the province told us, no, can't move forward with these things, this is not what makes sense. Is that correct? Is that what I understood from you?
No, the price tag was too high, we couldn't afford to do it, and we decided that we needed to have clean drinking water before we could deal with that sewer issue it was 16 million, I think, at the time, in order to be able to install the sewage treatment at the beach.
Okay.
Like I've attended so many meetings on our wastewater, and listen, I appreciate that we need to do this now, there's no way around it. It just bugs me that we have to do the work over again that we've already done. Hopefully they would accept some of what we got and to go forward.
But the BAT study was looking at the technologies that were available at that time.
There's no new ones since then.
Right, but what I'm saying to you is the work that we're looking at doing now is to do an ask of who is able to do this at what price at this point in time. I would expect that those costs that we had back then are way out of date. It was 16 million then. My recollection when I was first elected was $20 million for the first strategic plan that we had here.
Right.
And we looked at it when drinking water is a priority. we need to get that sorted first, which is what we have done. We've been very successful in that space. But I think back to the lessons learned, breaking out the engineering, understanding, what's really cool about these technologies, they can be done in bits rather than the whole thing at one time, right? And do it out over time. So it's gonna be really cool to see how this goes, but I think it's important to explain that to residents so they can understand that we are actively working on this file. We are trying, it's no longer in a strategic plan saying, oh, we'll get there someday. It's actually an achievable thing that we are actually working on to see what we can do and try to action it as soon as possible.
Right. Listen, I realize all that. I agree totally with it. My fear is now we're gonna go out to RFP. The solution that we know we can do in pieces around the town with engineered wetlands might come in as higher than the other thing, and the government might force us to put a treatment plant down at the beach that don't suit our needs. That's
So
just my
that's the
concern.
other point that I just wanted to raise, and I apologize for using my phone, but my children are home and I'm just disarming the house for them. The other point of this, Mayor, is right now the way things are set up, the infrastructure and public works funding comes to the provincial government, and the provincial government has a say in how we spend that, and that is impacted by the engineering work that we do and having to meet their requirements. And you'll recall the work that we did on the sidewalks here, that actually was a situation where we had so much money allocated and the province called it back, and we had that conversation in this public chamber. Back to the conversation about the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, that was why I was there in December lobbying to get that money to come directly to the municipality, so it would not be hung up on situations like that. So I think it's important to consider those are the sorts of things that we look at in that space and work that's available for the municipality for cost savings.
All right, thank you. Can we move on to the motion?
Absolutely, we can, yeah. So the motion is, committee reviewed the report presented and agreed as per the approved budget items for 2025. It would recommend accepting the report and its recommendations. For 2025, the amount below has been budgeted in relation to the report. $25,000 for each of the pump houses for this year to take care of the lower end items. Some of them have already been started and we'll be doing more of them in the spring. $100,000 has been budgeted for the water distribution model, which the Department of Infrastructure and Public Works is currently working on a scope for with the help of transportation infrastructure and water resources. The motion is, and this is for the pump house analysis final draft, it's attached for review. The motion is to accept the report as presented and to proceed with the recommendations as noted above. So moved.
Second?
Moved in second. Challenge?
Just on the, so all we're doing right now then, I guess by this motion is doing the limited amount of repairs to the existing pump houses to get us to the point where we know what our final solution looks like for the water distribution.
So we had that conversation at committee as well, and I'll invite the director to speak to it. But the idea of doing this right now is to understand what do we need and what do we repair, with the understanding that we are looking at having new systems coming online. We've got the work with North Pond that's happening moving forward right now. We also are hoping that we're going to get approval for Great Pond. So right now, my understanding from our committee discussion was that if we move forward in this space, we can do some of the analysis and try to better understand what do we need to repair and fix. So I'll hand it over to the director for anything that I may have missed, but that's my general understanding as committee chair.
So the main thing from the pump house analysis is that we need to do a water model of the town, which was also recommended in the study that was done by WSP for Great Pond and that. So that's the next step in all this. So the water model is going to be broken down into two different areas actually. One is North Pond as the sole source of water, which we got. And the second one will be a North Pond and a Great Pond model. So that tells us where everything's going. So that looks at our fire hydrants, looks at our pumps, looks at our pressures and all that good stuff. The second component of which is the $25,000 per pump house, which was approved in this year's budget, that is, like I say, I'm calling a low-end item. So we're replacing older valves and some stuff, some issues with our fuel tanks and some structure issues with our building, stuff like that. That's not doing anything with the actual pumps in those buildings, because the pumps in the buildings, as you recall, and as you can see from this, are more like $300,000 and $400,000 each for the skid units. So we're not even looking at that, because the model may tell us when we bring Great Pond, or when or if we bring Great Pond on, Thorns Lane Pump House will probably end up disappearing as such, right? So that's the reason we're,
So we're just keeping them going until we find out what the final solution looks like.
basically, yes, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's the reason we didn't, Infrastructure Public Works didn't look to budget $500,000 for each one of those buildings for this year. We only looked for the 25 to do the lower end items type thing. And the model was the most important part of it.
So the model will tell us where we need to invest the money, go forward, save money for the residents.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right. We had a conversation with the multi-year capital works projects, so that is in here. The project deadline has been extended to January 2026. The project is out to tender, closing February 19th. Stormwater mitigation, I've shared enough about that already, so there's information in here about next steps and moving forward. Water and wastewater projects, so the information is all here about the work that we've been doing in North Pond, the land acquisition, Great Pond water study, wastewater testing requirements as per normal. Review of departmental policies, so this is required, as I understand it, by the new act, that some of the things need to be changed to bylaws, regulations, and that need to be switched over, so director's working on those now. The flow meters, the numbers are remaining consistent, around 1,300 to 1,400 cubic meters per day. The recycling education has been done. The final portion has been new signs, which we put out in spring. The recycling education, Brian, is that still paid for by, is that being paid for by the town, or is that being paid for by the?
No, that was a fund that we received from MMSB.
Yes.
So over the next week or so, you're going to see there's another component there that we add into it as well, which is some more recycling information about what you can and can't recycle. So that will be going out to the public. And like I say, we got two new street signs going up, and I had to spill around there in the spring. So they're already purchased. But that's all done through funding. The only contribution on our side was in-kind stuff like putting up the actual signs and work of our marketing coordinator, I believe his title is.
Okay.
So
thank
social
you.
media posts and stuff like that.
So those costs are incurred by MMSB.
Yeah.
Thank you. We had a conversation about traffic calming, that there's an update provided there as well, and we talked about some different technologies, and director said that he would look at some of those in the spring. Action tracking items are here, and our next committee meeting is February 25th, 2025. I'd like to thank the director. It was the first time that I've been in the depot in quite some time to be there for an in-person meeting. And it was absolutely lovely to be in that space. So thank you, Brian. That was a great meeting. And thank you to Councillor Manning for joining the committee and coming up to speed on those files as quickly as she did. That ends my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
One question, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eagles Nest Trail, how is that fitting into where we're going? We talked about Eagles Nest, it was an election issue, I suppose, or at the time of the last election. And
Yeah.
we're still
So I'll speak.
waiting on something, like I just wonder how that incorporates into where we
So I'll
start the
speak
year.
to that. I asked the question about that actually because it was an election issue in the last round of elections, and people did ask up in that area what we were going to do about it. And I've continued to ask about that as well. So the situation is that land and Brian actually brought it up in the committee meeting and showed us, the land that is laid out there for where the trail will go in the green space, it's been tied up in situations whereby private contractors had that, they were going to hand it over to the town. It didn't happen, and the business is no more. So there are some situations around sorting that stuff out right now, Councillor Pollard, that has been impacting the ability to do that work. The director is working on that with planning, as I understand, to resolve the issue, and thank you to our directors for the work that they're doing to try to get that situation resolved. If they are able to resolve the issue of ownership and town having access to the land, then my understanding from the director is he's prepared to start working on the trail. The situation with the open space area, which was the other part that was asked about, right now, there isn't sufficient development in that space where we're able to make that happen as part of the development situation. So it is allocated as a part of future development for that space, my understanding is right now, but we're not at a place where we as a town can go in, clear that out, and create that space for residents. So if there's anything I've missed, Director, by all means, please share, but that's my understanding of the conversation we had at committee on Wednesday morning.
No, I think you summed it up pretty good there.
Thank you.
Just on the connecting piece from Eels Nest down to the main road there, whatever, were we gonna do some work on that? Are we able to do work on that?
Which part do you mean?
There's a, understand there's a
Going down
part
over the
that's,
road?
yeah, understand there's a part that is not encumbered by the ownership issue.
Yeah. So that's down through the drainage ditch easement, or what it's called actually. So I did walk that last year, and I think there may be some issue with it on the bottom as it relates to a open ditch instead of a covered ditch. So that's something we're gonna have a look into as well. But like I said, we do have an easement down through there, which we can put a trail, make that joint once we get a trail up above, I guess. So that's still on the radar.
Yeah. Very much staying on the agenda, Councillor Pollard, as it's something that, you know, we made a commitment to do the work, and we're trying our darndest, sorry, my language, I apologize, our darndest to get that sorted. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just got one, that might probably just be an observation, and it's back to number 2, multi-year capital works projects. Is that right there under the common generator project? Project is out to tender, closing date February
Yes.
19th, so should that be 2025?
Should be 25, yes.
You got a
Okay, just to
typo.
make sure, yeah, that's in there, because when you look at it, it seems like it's already
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
No, it's
Thank you for
closing
picking
this
that up,
week,
Deputy
actually.
Mayor.
It was supposed to close last week, but it got extended.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
So just a quick one on that, I guess, as well. So if that closes and gets awarded at our next council meeting, that if all goes well, which don't always go well, but before the end of the year, the generator will be in place and operational.
Yeah, that'll be good, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, thank you. Next up, Recreation and Community Services, Councillor Empey.
Thank you, Mayor. Myself and Councillor Manning met with our Director, Jen Martin, for Recreation and Community Services on Wednesday morning. We discussed the Best of Torbay Awards that Councillor Tepper shared in his update about the History House, the joint work that's being done there. So that was, there were a number of awards that were presented to us for consideration, and we provided the director with feedback on those. We talked about the registration process for various programs and events, and this is something that came up in the last council meeting. So what we've decided to recommend to council is that there are no longer wait lists for town events. It's been quite cumbersome for staff. It's been quite frustrating for residents when, you know, someone's on a wait list, but you got a ticket here and it's the day of and you want to be able to sell it or exchange it. We've been trying to understand what's the best way to do that and work with people. So the idea has been, once an event is sold out, it is sold out. So then there is no longer wait lists. The only wait list the town of Torbay will have now, if council is okay with this proposal, is to have a wait list for for camp. Thank you. Sorry, I'm recovering from a cold and my brain is not connecting the words all the time. But so right now, camp will have a wait list for families that want to get their kids in there, and we thought that was an appropriate place to keep wait lists. But for other events, there are no longer going to be wait lists for those events. So once it's sold out, it's sold out. We had a conversation about capacity. And, you know, if we understand that event continues to sell out, then we can go back and staff can look at, well, what parameters are there? Is it something that we can expand on, or what does that look like? We also had a conversation about other communities participating, and we talked about that a bit. And right now, the way things are set up, our residents get access to all of our programming for the first week. Nobody from outside can put their name in through these services to try to get access to that. We are unable to police if I decide I want to go to an event and bring my sister who lives in the city of St. John's, right? And as a tax-paying resident, the conversation was, well, you know, should you be able to bring your spouse, partner, family member to that? That's extremely difficult for staff to police. They're really not going to do that. And then we're looking at the town of Torbay taxpayers and saying, here's who you can buy a ticket for. So that can be tangly if you live in Torbay, but your family member is in Flat Rock or Pooch Cove, and you want to bring your mom into an event. You know what I mean? So, or your partner. So we thought right now we'd leave it as is. They're hugely popular events that concerns are raised about being sold out. Sell out minutes. They sell out quickly. So the question around that then is capacity. Do we have enough for the people of Torbay? What does that look like? So at this point, what we're suggesting is that registration processes no longer have wait lists, that we leave things status quo where, you know, residents do still get first access to all of our programming, and then let that run, see how it goes. If there are any further concerns or questions around it, we're more than happy to take it back and look at it again. But as it stands right now, that was the recommendation that we were going to make to council. So I don't know if we need a motion for that. We, because we're kind of asking the council endorse that's at this time. So I'll ask the question maybe of the director or CAO. Is a motion required here for this one, or should we just have it understood in the public record that there are no longer wait lists?
Yeah, I don't really see the need for a motion. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Yeah, Jen, do you want to speak to that? Do you have any concern?
I don't think there's a need for motion anyway, either, if everyone's okay with that. I think most of this stuff is totally operational.
Yeah.
I mean, if council feels a motion's needed, I mean, obviously I'm okay with that, but I really don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
I guess
I got a question. I had it to come up at the end, but seeing that you're talking about this right now, I know in other towns, like, and I know it's the seniors, the Christmas dinner seems to be the big thing, and I hear what the Councillor Appleby is saying, if you want to get tickets and your family or whatever, but that's one thing for one person. But I know that in other communities, they have put right in there for Flat Rock or for LMO residents only. And that eliminates 10 people coming from another community, just the fact of coming in. It's not getting into, like, common sense has to somewhere prevail in all of this. The other thing that I want to bring up is that we have, again, any number of free events or what have you, and I know we've talked about this, and I mean, it's getting beat to death, but when you advertise and it says for e-services only, I thought that we just went through that a few weeks ago, and we said that there would be tickets available at the Common for any of these events, as well as potentially, rather than a senior having to come into the Common to give their name, that a phone number would be put in. And I noticed in the guide, that's not the case. And I noticed that there's going to be, like, if there's a lunch and learn, that registration is going to be required, but it doesn't even say that registration and how you go about it. But everything in here, again, it's the same thing that pre-registration required through e-services. And I thought that that wasn't going to be the case. So what I'm asking is that anything that goes up on our website, that it's not only because, again, I guess tomorrow that I heard you talking earlier, or in the next week or so, there's things going to go back in there again, that those options, or that the text would be changed to say that the call, or that, you know, there will be other ways rather than just for e-services.
So to speak to that and
So
respond
I
to
thought
that.
that was decided on already.
I'm gonna
Different
respond to that,
department,
Jen,
like,
please.
I'll have to talk to Cameron about that, because my department doesn't do the guide. Communications does the
You
guide.
had the conversation
Yes,
about
all of
that
the,
this was discussed at length a few weeks ago.
yeah, all of the ads now that are going out publicly have the phone numbers and the fact that you can actually physically go. That's all been
Yeah,
changed.
because it's not in the new
Yeah,
guide, right?
that's, I wasn't aware of that. I'll have a
Yeah,
look at that.
okay,
So
thank
we
you.
need to also consider the conversation that happened at budget time around this,
Mm.
because the conversation at budget was, if we're looking at what the costs are, how much it is to put these things off, we need to be able to have information as trackable in e-services to understand what is the cost, what's going on, so that we can have the analysis and David can do his work with his team to make sure that we're projecting and budgeting effectively. So I'm absolutely not against the idea of having tickets available at the center and making sure that we have inclusive opportunities for people to participate. I'm all about that. However, I think that if we are going to do that, we need to make sure, and Jen, I'll leave this to you as an operations point, to ensure that that is being tracked through e-services with our staff team. Because at the end of the day, when we were looking at the budgets and we're looking at how much it costs and how much money we're putting where, it's really unfortunate if we don't have that information tracked, and that's what e-services does. It gives us the ability to have people accessible. I could be working in Alberta and still go in and buy tickets for something for my family member through e-services. So there is flexibility there. For those who do want to go in person and purchase their tickets, fine, but we should have it set up so that the staff person who is processing that can put it in, if it's a phone number, whatever that critical information is. But at least then we can look at where's that money going so we can track it for go forward. So certainly a conversation that committee can take back, speak with our director, talk about capacity and the ability to do that work, and then look at moving that forward. The concern the deputy mayor raises about the information that's in the guide, thank you for the clarification on that, director, and I understand the CAO is going to speak with communications to address that. So I hear those comments, and we can absolutely respect and respond to those in an appropriate way that works and is responsible for tracking the data that the finance department and the recreation community services department needs for planning.
Yeah, fair
Thanks,
enough.
Mayor.
And to
Okay.
Deputy Mayor's point, even if somebody calls and gets a ticket, or they go to the common and get a ticket, there's still the ability for staff to remove that. They all come from e-services.
The
So,
staff, yeah, the
it's-
staff can process it through e-services,
All right,
right?
so that's what I want to elaborate on. Since I've been on council, this is something, and I mean, I sound like a broken record, Jen, I know, and you can take breathe. But anyway, ultimately, at the end of the day, that's something that can be done. And with regards, I think the mayor just said it, from a staff perspective, going in and entering it, I don't think that it's fair, and for any of us to talk about being all-inclusive and involving people who use e-service even regularly, there's any given day that they can have difficulty going in there, but to expect somebody that's not familiar with going in there to be able to go in and register, I think that that's really unfortunate. So once again, I don't know if we need a motion to make sure, no, but I'm just saying because, Mr. Mayor, this is not the first time this has come up. And there a few weeks ago, we had a lengthy, so I don't know if the information is going back to the committee, and I'm assuming that the CAO spoke to the director to say this is something. So I guess what I'm hearing is that Kerry needs to be involved with this as well, to make sure that this information is given to Cameron for anything that goes out and for anything now that comes up on the website or on Facebook, to know that's in here and that it shouldn't be promoted just as e-services only. And that's all that I just want to make sure. So with that, I'm just...
I'm a little confused about your comments, because what we're saying is for anyone who's not on e-services, that we would entertain, committee would have asked staff to enter that information to e-services, so we still have it, and that they're able to register and get tickets.
What
at
I'm
the
saying for
site.
clarification
Can I
on what
please
I
continue?
said,
we
is
have-
that you were
Cut off.
going to look into it and check.
please.
To me,
I'm
this is something that's
Chair of
already
the
done.
committee
Can we have one?
who's
two seconds?
responding.
Oh, I was talking, and I just wanted to make sure that what I'm said,
I'm
I don't need to
sorry.
be reiterated again, what I
understand.
said.
I understand.
I think the
that it's
important thing is
fair.
that this is already being done. Like, there's nobody who, for some reason, can't register. If they can't register through e-services, they can come in person, they can email, they can phone the common. There's absolutely no reason
Just
people
needs to be
can't register.
communicated in here, that's all.
Right, but I mean, the onus is on people too. Like, our focus is promoting e-services and our platforms. But if people don't know how to use it, they can just call or email. And the phone numbers were added in here this time, that's new. The phone numbers for all the facilities.
You're not getting my point, Jen.
Can we-
I know that the town is promoting e-services, I know that for people who are not, there has to be another way, and that needs to be communicated in here as well.
There is another way, we just need to make sure it's fully
Yes.
communicated. I
Right.
think that's the point here.
Yes.
And that will be done.
Yes,
So
thank you.
everything that you asked about is being done,
Yes.
except we just need to make sure we're communicating.
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
I think that's the point here.
Okay, all right.
And that will be addressed.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
right.
The other thing that has come up, Mayor, in the conversation about the registration processes through various committee meetings have been concerns about code of conduct. And code of conduct is not just a council and staff issue, it's also a public issue. And I would like to mention and share and ask and reiterate that as people register, participate, interact with our staff, I understand emotions can be high, and you want tickets for this or tickets for that, or whatever is happening at that day. But I do ask that everybody come into this space and are respectful with our staff when there's a situation where, you know, people are trying to resolve these issues. It's very important. We have signs all around this place saying bullying, harassment, violence will not be tolerated. Yet there seems to be issues where some people feel that it is appropriate to act in an unbecoming way sometimes in these spaces. So just a very kind and friendly reminder to be kind with staff, work with them. They are trying, as the director has shared and I have shared tonight, to accommodate residents and work with them. So I just want to bring that up as well, because I think that's a very important point. The spring programs and events, we did a run through them at the committee meeting, and the director walked us through those. Oh my goodness, I lost my page. Sorry. My turn for computer drama. Sorry. And it's deciding what it's going to do.
When you hit on that, just like in your guide, when you hit that on your screen, did that bring it up? Yeah.
I apologize, I can't see this. It's just going to take a minute.
That's when they were talking about policy. Yeah. No, because even on that policy, the policy, that donation policy, can't get that either, no. Have to mention it to Kim.
Is
Still
it up?
loading.
Did you want to get Deputy
Do you
Mayor
have
to
a
just
paper
finish up?
copy?
I've
Oh,
got-
Mark is coming. Thank you, Mark. Sorry, I'm still loading. Appreciate it, my friend. Thank you. All right, so there was a conversation about the facility rental fees. The director had conversations with minor soccer and guides about the rental fees in 2025. So that has been, to my understanding, a conversation that has been ongoing with community groups and working through this process. And there have been some changes as per the budget this year. So I want to thank our Director of Corporate Services and our Director of Community Services, Recreation and Community Services, in the work that you are doing and have been doing and continue to do, working with our community groups around that. There was a potential event that has been brought forward to committee, and we were, of course, excited about seeing where that may go. The understanding that I had from the conversation at committee, though, was that it may not happen this year. We understand that it may be pushed out by a year because it's a private partner who's looking to take that leadership role in the community. We're going to have to wait and see where things are with that. But as things stand right now, we're just waiting for further communication to see where that goes. And also the Safe Community Action Plan. So the director has updated us on various sessions planned for the spring, including financial literacy, online safety, babysitting course, and fraud and scam prevention. We are working to build the relationship with the RNC This has been a committee agenda item that's been important to us, but making sure we have safer communities. And I know the director has been doing a lot of work with her team and the RNC, so thank you for that. Our next meeting is going to be February 26th at 2025, and that ends my report. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions on any of the other stuff? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Liaison committees, Atlantic Mayor's Congress, I don't have any update. Intergovernmental Affairs, updated earlier that we had sent a letter to MP Thompson and several ministers in the provincial government regarding our water situation. Jack Byrne, Tony, anything?
No, nothing, no.
Great, thank you. Northeast Avalon Joint Council, Deputy Mayor.
The next meeting is Wednesday evening.
Okay, thank you. RNC, Sandy?
No, we're meeting with them now on a quarterly basis, or I am, with the staff sergeant, so that's everything on a regular basis.
Okay.
Can we just see when they're going to have, because when we met last time about having the training session, and I brought it to my attention again the other night, I think his name is Greg Noseworthy, was talking about the skidooing and the trails and what have you.
Mhm.
And they were going to come in and just give an update for anybody on the quads or on the road to
The
participants
RNC
to
were?
know. Yeah. They were the ones they were going to contact. If there was a particular, what she told us, if there was a particular session or what have you, they would get involved. And she mentioned, what's the RNC, the sergeant's name, Jen, that you met with that day when we talked about this?
Sergeant Cunningham, Julie
Yeah.
Cunningham.
And about having that providing that training and contacting them, right? Because that was my part into it all, and we had talked about that for a while, just to let the residents know. And, because now, by the time that they probably plan it, it'll be spring again anyway, but.
Okay.
And about the importance of having the insurance and helmets and what have you, so.
Okay, all right, thank you. Torbay Volunteer Fire Department, the minutes are there. Councilor Manning is not. Urban Municipalities Committee, there is a Urban Municipalities Committee that's happening in March 28th, 29th in Marystown. Are you gonna be able to go to that, Deputy Mayor?
I've talked to Councillor Tapper, and if he's available to go, what we basically said, one of us
Okay,
will be there. So right now, he's looking at, he was going to check out his schedule to see when he was available, and if not, so one or the other will
all
be
right,
there.
okay. All right,
Let's
thank
say
you.
that.
Yep. All right, notice of motion done. New business, where's my sheet? I think Councilor Tepper passed. Councilor Appleby.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank the residents, actually, for reaching out and asking questions. There are sometimes interesting conversations that are circulating in the community about what's happening at council. And then a resident will call me and say, Trina Bai, I heard this. And I had one this evening before I came here, actually. It's why I was a little bit late. And when I heard it, I'm like, that's the first I've heard of this. I'm pretty sure that's not the case, but let me clarify what the actual situation is and get back to you. And I want to thank staff, because I know, and you often thank staff, so I'll do it again tonight. But staff work really hard for us, and they clarify for us what the answers are. And I think it's really important that, you know, people in the community, when they hear these things, that they reach out and they fact check to see if these rumors are true or not. This one was not true that was brought forward to me this evening, and within a few minutes I could reach out to staff and say, listen, can you explain to me what this is? So now I can clarify and make sure that there's good communication. One of the funny things, you know, people think that communication has happened, and the first lesson I learned when I went to work with the communication branch with DFO was that communication, the first error in communication is thinking that it's happened. So I would like to encourage residents, thank the ones that do, and encourage residents to reach out and ask us questions. You know, you see the conversations on Facebook sometimes, but that's not officially how to communicate with council. But send us an email, give us a call. You know, let's have that conversation. We're here to work together. So I just want to extend that thank you to them for that. The other thing I wanted to do is I didn't speak about the proclamations as they came up at the time. I was late getting in here and trying to get sorted. But I want to say thank you to the town for the support for those as well. Friends of mine have family members that benefit from Easter Seals. They do fabulous work. And the cardiac, conversation around the heart and the importance of, it definitely impacts my family. And we were followed at the Janeway as well for cardiology. My father passed away from a massive heart attack. It's a very important, close piece for me as well. And as the gentleman was talking about what happened with him and the responders, I had the good fortune last week, and one of my colleagues with the Coast Guard offered first training to family and friends. And I got to recertify my first aid, which was really great. And it's important to have those skills, because if something does go wrong, you never know when they will. It's nice to know how to be effective, efficient, and safe in a space like that. So a bunch of thank yous going out to residents who, talk to us and engage, find out the truth. Thank you to the staff for all the work that you do and helping us with that communication. And also thank you for the opportunity to support those very important proclamations, and to be able to do the first aid so we can respond in safe spaces. Thanks.
Thank you, good stuff. Deputy Mayor?
I'd just like to thank, anybody that's, they know who they are, that has helped me tremendously since New Year's Eve, in getting around. I'm hoping to be able to get back driving again on Friday, but special thank you to Shirley Thorne and to Councillors Manning and Councillor Tapper to make sure that I've been to my meetings, committees the whole, or wherever was anything to do with town. And without the neighbors and friends, it's really, when you get the experience the healthcare and what's there when people basically, I could say, have a disability, but it's unreal to have to go through the whole system and kind of fend for yourself. And the only other thing that I'd like to wish my grandson Gerald Goss happy 14th birthday. He'll be 14 tomorrow, and I hope that he gets to enjoy his day playing lots of hockey. They're doing really good with the hockey, and anyway, it's good to see that your coaches and everybody that's involved with all of these games and with the various teams. So I hope his day is as special as what he is.
All right, excellent. Before I do my thanks, I just want to, before we move on, and to a point earlier in the meeting, I lost my cool and my composure, which is not normally the case for me. I want to apologize to everybody around here and whoever's watching that I lost my cool there. It's not directed at any individuals or anything like that. It's just that I don't know. Sometimes I should follow my own advice, not talk so much. But I apologize for that and the time that was wasted for that, and I'll do my best for that not to happen again. This is an important place that we hold here, and it should be treated with the respect that it deserves. And there I had a bit of a lapse, and I'm sorry about that. I want to thank staff and council for your work over the last number of weeks. It's been a tough time with the loss of one of our colleagues and the need to juggle some of our workload. And I appreciate and thank those members of council and staff who've stepped up to take on additional committee assignments and moving those things around. It's a little difficult, sometimes to juggle your schedules, and I thank everybody for that. And also thank you to Holly for filling in tonight as the town clerk. You've done a wonderful job. You're typing way too much stuff in the minutes, but that's okay. But with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Moved, seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you very much. Oh, our next public council meeting is scheduled to take place Monday, March 3rd, 2025, right here at Council Chambers. All right. Thanks, everybody.
So,
Once you go to the email, you have choices, right? You can go to PDF, or HTML, and you don't go there, do you?
No.
So when the email comes out,